Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and I'm joined today by our resident strategy expert.
Hey there. I am really excited to get into this one today.
Yeah, me too. So, okay, I want you to mentally transport yourself back to, I don't know, a decade ago,
Oh boy.
right? Think about the process of booking a relatively simple, like 5-day international vacation back then.
It was a nightmare.
It totally was. Think about the sheer cognitive load required for that task. You'd sit down at a desktop computer, and within minutes, your browser would just be choked with tabs.
Oh yeah, like 20 tabs open at once.
Exactly. You had an aggregator for flights, maybe 3 different proprietary hotel platforms, a separate tab for rental cars.
And then, the endless review sites.
Yes, another cluster of tabs dedicated entirely to cross-referencing independent reviews just to ensure, the ocean view room didn't actually overlook some noisy service alley.
Right, because you couldn't trust the photos.
You couldn't. You were essentially acting as your own travel agent, manually parsing all this unstructured data, comparing disparate pricing models,
Yeah.
and just trying to synthesize a coherent itinerary out of sheer noise.
And I mean, the human brain was forced to act as the central processing unit for this massive, totally uncoordinated database.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, the friction was immense because the internet of that era was designed for publication.
Right.
Not synthesis.
Right.
The burden of sorting and filtering and, verifying the data fell entirely on you, the consumer.
Right. But fast forward to the present, that entire multi-hour research project has been basically compressed into a single conversational prompt.
It's pretty wild when you think about it.
It is. You open an AI assistant and you just type build a 5-day itinerary for the Amalfi Coast in June, moderate budget, ocean view, close to family-friendly restaurant.
Then boom.
Yeah, in 3 seconds, the underlying large language model queries its training data, reaches out to real-time APIs, normalizes the pricing, and cross-references the sentiment analysis of thousands of reviews.
All in the background.
Exactly. And it generates a seamless, optimized package.
Yeah.
We are basically operating in a zero-click environment.
Right.
The user never leaves the chat interface, you never visit a hotel website, and you never interact with traditional marketing copy.
Because the algorithm has fundamentally bypassed the traditional search engine results page.
Yeah.
It is no longer providing you with a list of links to, investigate yourself. It is providing you with the final synthesized answer. The AI does the reading, the scoring, and the selection.
Which brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. Based on some incredible source material we have, including industry strategy documents, patient journey analyses, and guidelines from platforms like PlacidWay.
Excellent sources, yeah.
Yeah, really eye-opening stuff. What happens when we take that exact same frictionless zero-click AI compression and apply it to a decision matrix with infinitely higher stakes?
Right, because we are not talking about booking a boutique hotel anymore.
No, we are talking about a patient applying this exact technology to book a cross-border flight for a knee replacement or a complex bariatric surgery or, an IVF cycle.
Huge stake.
Massive. We are unpacking a massive silent infrastructure shift happening in global healthcare marketing and medical tourism right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are going to explore how AI is entirely rewriting the rules of patient discovery.
And the stakes here, they really cannot be overstated. We are looking at a landscape where the world's most advanced, highly skilled medical centers will just become digitally invisible if they fail to adapt.
Wow, invisible.
Completely invisible. If they don't adapt their data architecture to this new reality, they're gone. It is a total paradigm shift from, search engine optimization to what we call recommendation visibility. Recommendation visibility.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that term. Let's start by looking at the mechanics of what we are actually leaving behind.
Sure.
Because for the better part of 2 decades, the international patient journey operated on a specific, highly lucrative set of search engine rules.
Oh, yeah. The whole SEO game.
Right. The prevailing assumption was that the patient would do the digging, and the clinic just needed to capture their attention long enough to get them into a sales funnel.
The old model was built entirely on the concept of the PageRank algorithm and keyword density.
Keywords, right, just stuffing them in there.
Exactly. If a patient in California needed affordable dental implants, they queried a search engine, and the engine returned 10 blue links.
The classic 10 blue links.
Right. And for the clinics, the entire business model was predicated on ranking at the top of that page for high-intent keywords. They achieved this through backlinking, localized SEO, and, massive paid advertising spends.
Huge budgets.
Massive. But once the patient clicked the link, they landed on a site designed purely for emotional conversion, not informational clarity.
Yeah, the digital footprint of these clinics was essentially just a glossy brochure.
Yep.
You'd see high-resolution drone footage of a pristine facility, smiling doctors, and these massive banners proclaiming them to be the best medical center in the world.
Which means nothing, really.
Right. But the actual utility of the site was abysmal. Pricing was almost universally obfuscated behind a contact us for a, quote, form.
Oh, the dreaded lead form.
Yeah, exactly. Physician credentials were buried in dense paragraph text, if they were even listed at all. So the patient had to manually build their own spreadsheet just to compare a clinic in Mexico against a clinic in Costa Rica.
And that opacity, it was actually a feature, not a bug of the old system.
Wait, really? A feature?
Oh, absolutely. By forcing the patient to submit their contact information just to get a baseline price, the clinic captured the lead.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they could then unleash their sales teams on you. The search engine didn't care about the clinical outcome or the transparency of the pricing. It only cared that the website loaded quickly and had the right keyword density.
Wow. Okay, but then the large language models arrived and basically detonated that entire funnel.
Completely blew it up.
Because when a patient today types, which countries offer affordable IVF treatment with high success rates for women over 35, the LLM does not return a list of clinic homepages.
No, it doesn't.
It returns a structured comparative analysis. It lists the countries, the average cost of the cycle, the statistical success rates, and the required length of stay.
Right, the full picture.
And then it offers a highly curated list of maybe 2 or 3 specific clinics.
The economic destruction of the middleman link is really the defining characteristic of this shift. We saw this exact phenomenon devastate the hospitality industry's direct web traffic a few years ago, like you mentioned earlier.
Right, the hotel bookings.
Yeah. When AI began answering queries directly on the interface, hotel websites saw their organic traffic just plummet.
Because why click?
Exactly. If the AI synthesizes the answer, the user has zero incentive to click through to the source. The medical tourism industry is experiencing this exact same drop in direct top-of-funnel web traffic right now.
So the fundamental goalpost has moved.
Dramatically.
The directive for a hospital marketing director is no longer, how do we rank #1 to get the click? The directive is, how do we structure our data so the AI system chooses us as the definitive answer?
And that is the essence of recommendation visibility.
There's that term again.
Yeah, it's the measure of how seamlessly a machine learning model can ingest, verify, and confidently present a clinic's data to a user.
Okay.
And the scary reality is that the vast majority of international hospital websites are failing this test catastrophically.
Catastrophically.
Yes, because they are still designing for human emotional response rather than machine logic.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that failure, because it's so interesting. You have a world-class cardiovascular center. They have incredible surgeons, but their website is a maze of beautifully rendered, emotionally resonant marketing copy.
Right.
Why does an LLM look at that multi-million-dollar website and see nothing but an untrustworthy black box?
Because of how these algorithms actually parse data, an LLM doesn't, watch the beautiful drone video of the lobby.
All right.
It doesn't feel reassured by the phrase compassionate care for over 20 years.
It doesn't have feelings.
Exactly. Subjective marketing claims are essentially just noise to a vector database. The algorithm relies on semantic search and structured data parsing. When it crawls a site, it is looking for specific entities and the relationships between those entities.
Entities like what?
Like it wants to map the entity Dr. X to the entity procedure Y and the entity cost Z.
Okay, so it needs the data architecture to reflect the actual medical reality.
Precisely. If the clinic's pricing is buried in a downloadable PDF, and this happens all the time, if the doctor's board certifications are just a JPEG image of a certificate hanging on a wall somewhere,
the machine can't read it.
The machine cannot read it. To use a parallel, relying on unstructured marketing copy is like a doctor writing a life-saving prescription in incredibly messy, illegible cursive.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. The pharmacist, or in this case, the AI, cannot confidently decode it. What the AI needs is the digital equivalent of a standardized pharmacy barcode.
A barcode, okay.
It needs JSON LD schema markup. It needs data tables. It needs explicit quantifiable data points.
The sources provide a really fascinating scenario regarding dental tourism that illustrates exactly how this plays out in real time.
Oh, the Costa Rica versus Mexico example.
Yes. Imagine an American patient querying an AI for all-on-4 dental implants. The AI instantly scans global data hubs to evaluate providers in Mexico, Costa Rica, and Colombia. Let's look at Clinic A in Costa Rica. They have engineered their site for machine logic. They have a perfectly structured data table outlining the exact cost of the all-on-4 procedure.
Which is rare, but great.
Super rare. They explicitly list the brand of titanium implants they use, the type of abutment, and the material of the final crown.
Perfect.
And the lead dentist profile isn't just a generic paragraph. It is a structured list of their medical school, their local board certifications, and their specific complication rates.
So that clinic is providing the algorithm with a high confidence anchor. The AI can instantly map the user's query to Clinic A's structured entities.
Right.
It verifies the data, understands the exact scope of the treatment package, and confidently pushes Clinic A into the recommended summary.
But now contrast that with Clinic B in Mexico. Let's assume Clinic B actually has superior clinical outcomes. Their surgeons are more experienced, their facility is newer, and their actual surgical fee is lower.
Okay, so better in the real world.
Better in the real world. But their digital infrastructure is a disaster. The pricing is hidden behind a lead capture form. The doctor profiles are just generic blurbs about our highly skilled team.
Right.
There is no structured schema for the procedure details. When the AI crawls Clinic B, it finds no quantifiable entities to map.
So the AI skips them entirely.
Entirely.
Yeah. Clinic B, despite being the superior medical facility in the physical world, becomes completely invisible in the digital recommendation layer.
I just want to pause on the sheer magnitude of that for a second. We are talking about a systemic shift where a truly world-class medical facility loses an international patient to an objectively average clinic, strictly because the average clinic hired a better data engineering team to format their schema markup.
It's wild.
That feels like a fundamental flaw in how healthcare should be distributed.
I mean, it sounds counterintuitive until you understand the risk-weighting mechanisms of the algorithm.
Oh, so?
An AI system equates clarity with quality. From a data processing perspective, a lack of structured data is not merely a formatting error. It is a massive red flag for opacity.
Ah. So the algorithm assumes that if the data is missing or unstructured, it is being intentionally obscured.
Yes, exactly. If a machine learning model cannot instantly locate a surgeon's local medical license, or if it cannot reconcile inconsistent pricing across different pages of the site, it assumes the information is unreliable.
That makes sense.
In the domain of healthcare, AI systems are heavily weighted to minimize user risk. An algorithm will invariably recommend the highly transparent, structurally verified average clinic over a black box provider making grandiose, unverified claims of being world-class.
Wow.
Opacity equals risk, and the AI filters risk out of the results.
This introduces a fascinating evolution in what the strategy documents call the trust economy.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Because if traditional promotional jargon is dead, and the AI is filtering purely for structured clarity, how does a clinic prove actual medical competence? AI is essentially acting as a proxy for human trust, but it needs highly localized, verifiable truth to make that calculation.
Right. This is where the medical tourism industry has to strip away decades of bad habits.
Like what?
Historically, international hospitals relied on generic international badges or Western-centric accreditations to signal safety to foreign patients.
Oh, I've seen those on websites.
Yeah, they would slap a generic gold seal on their website and call it a day. But an LLM doesn't care about a generic marketing badge. It seeks granular, local, verifiable metrics.
It wants to audit the raw data.
Exactly.
It wants to see the explicit local healthcare licensing from the country's Ministry of Health. It wants to cross-reference the surgeon's specific board certifications within their local jurisdiction. It actively hunts for the doctors published peer-reviewed research in global medical databases.
Let's ground this in the reproductive medicine example from the source material.
Yes, the UAE example.
Right. The United Arab Emirates, specifically places like Dubai and Sharjah, are rapidly scaling their infrastructure to become global hubs for highly sensitive treatments like IVF, ICSI, and genetic screening.
Okay.
In the previous era, a clinic in Dubai would attract patients by marketing the luxury of the destination alongside, vague promises of making miracles happen.
Right. Glossy photos of Dubai.
Yep. But when a patient uses an AI to evaluate IVF options in the UAE today, The AI ignores the luxury destination marketing completely.
It doesn't care about the Burj Khalifa.
Not at all. The algorithm requires structured success data, and it requires that data to be deeply stratified.
Stratified. What do you mean by that?
Well, the algorithm isn't looking for a single aggregated success rate, because in reproductive medicine, a single aggregated number is statistically meaningless.
Okay, right.
The AI looks for data tables that break down success rates by explicit demographic markers. It wants the success rate for patients under 35 with no previous failed cycles.
Right.
It wants the specific live birth rate for patients over 40 utilizing pre-implantation genetic testing.
So clinics that take the radical step of publishing this raw, highly stratified educational data directly on their sites are generating massive trust signals for the algorithm.
Huge trust signals. The technical mechanism here is crucial. When a clinic publishes that raw demographic data, they are providing the AI with the exact parameters it needs to match a specific user profile.
Right.
If the user's prompt is, I am 41 years old with low AMH looking for IVF in Dubai, the AI can directly map that user's specific parameters to the clinic's structured data table.
That's incredible.
It is. And a competitor who hides their success rates or only publishes a vague blended average gives the AI nothing to map. Therefore, the transparent clinic wins the recommendation, regardless of how much the competitor spent on digital advertising.
This forces a fascinating race to the top for global medical transparency.
It really does.
Because a clinic can no longer camouflage a high postoperative infection rate or a below-average clinical outcome behind a beautiful user interface. The AI is actively cross-referencing the clinic's claims against independent medical registries, localized patient reviews, and global databases.
And if the data is bad, the algorithm penalizes the clinic. If the data is missing, the algorithm ignores the clinic.
It enforces a brutal honesty on the market.
Brutal. The digital reflection must accurately match the physical reality of the clinical outcomes because the auditing process is continuous and automated.
Okay, let's shift our focus to the human being initiating this entire chain of events.
Always important.
Yeah, because all of this sophisticated data architecture is ultimately serving a patient who is making a highly stressful, physically demanding decision. The strategy documents emphasize that we cannot optimize the data without fundamentally understand the psychology of the medical traveler.
Right.
Why are they choosing to board an international flight for an invasive procedure in the first place?
Well, the driver for medical travel is almost universally rooted in a severe, localized pain point. It is a decision born of necessity, not leisure.
People aren't doing this for fun.
No, definitely not. And the economic drivers vary significantly depending on the patient's home country. For patients in the United States, the catalyst is overwhelmingly the unbundled, prohibitive cost of domestic health care.
Yeah, the U.S. healthcare system operates on a highly fragmented pricing model.
Yeah.
You have the facility fee, the surgeon's fee, the anesthesiologist fee, the cost of the hardware itself.
It's endless.
A patient looking at a localized procedure is often hit with a barrage of separate bills that makes the total cost basically incomprehensible.
And then contrast that with patients coming from systems with socialized medicine, like Canada or the UK.
Right. Different problem entirely.
Exactly. Their pain point isn't immediate out-of-pocket cost. It is access and time. They're dealing with systemic rationing that might result in, a 2-year waiting list for hip replacement.
2 years.
Yeah. The driver there is the immediate restoration of quality of life. And then you have patients traveling for highly specialized care that simply hasn't cleared regulatory hurdles in their home country, such as specific advanced immunotherapies or novel stem cell applications.
So the AI has to understand the underlying why of the query to provide a relevant recommendation.
Precisely.
Let's look at the persona detailed in the patient journey analysis. We have Susie. She's a 39-year-old mother in Arizona seeking a tummy tuck.
Okay, classic case.
Right. She is entirely priced out of the local U.S. market due to those unbundled astronomical fees we talked about. Her primary driver is cost, and she begins evaluating options across the border in Mexico.
Under the old search paradigm, Susie's query for, affordable tummy tuck Mexico would have dropped her into a predatory digital environment.
Just a total Shark Tank.
Complete Shark Tank. She would be bombarded with clinics competing purely on the lowest advertised base price. The search engine didn't care if that base price excluded anesthesia or follow-up care. It just indexed the lowest number.
Right.
Susie was at high risk of making a medical decision based on incomplete, highly manipulated data.
It's the equivalent of buying a car based solely on the price of the chassis,
Yeah.
completely unaware that the engine and the steering column are going to be billed as separate mandatory add-ons once you arrive at the dealership.
That's exactly what it was like. But the introduction of the AI assistant entirely neutralizes that predatory pricing tactic.
How so?
A sophisticated LLM does not just retrieve the lowest integer, it forces a holistic comparison. When Susie asks the AI to evaluate clinics, the algorithm normalizes the disparate pricing models to create an apples-to-apples comparison.
How does it actually achieve that normalization, though? Like, what specific parameters is it extracting?
Well, the AI aggressively scans for the inclusions and exclusions of the surgical package. It distinguishes between the surgery-only price and the total cost of care.
Oh, okay.
It extracts data regarding the specific type of anesthesia included. It looks for structured information about the required duration of the post-operative stay in the host country.
Because she has to recover somewhere.
Exactly. So it calculates the cost of the hotel recovery, the airport transfers, and most importantly, the documented protocols for follow-up support once Susie returns to Arizona. It builds a comprehensive matrix of the total journey.
The analytical brilliance here is that the AI is taking the inherent logistical anxieties of medical tourism, the travel friction, the recovery away from home, the fear of complications abroad, and it's utilizing those exact pain points as measurable criteria for clinical quality.
That's it exactly. The algorithm effectively weaponizes the cons of medical travel to filter out subpar clinics.
Weaponizes the cons. I love that.
Yeah. If an AI analyzes a clinic's data structure and finds a surgical price but zero documented protocols for international patient discharge, zero information on hotel recovery partnerships, and no structured mechanism for remote follow-up.
Red flag.
Massive red flag. The algorithm flags that clinic as completely unprepared for cross-border care. The visibility ranking just plummets. The logistical planning is treated as a core component of the medical competency.
That brings us to a massive operational bottleneck, though.
Ah, the technical debt.
Yes, because we have established that survival in this new era requires a flawless, highly structured, transparent digital architecture.
Right.
But re-engineering a legacy hospital database to output perfectly formatted JSON LD schema for every procedure, doctor, and pricing tier. That is an incredibly complex, capital-intensive software engineering project.
Oh, it's a nightmare for most IT departments.
Most independent clinics and global hubs simply do not have the internal technical resources to constantly update their APIs to match the shifting ingestion requirements of foundational AI models.
No, they don't. The technical debt required to stay visible is staggering. An independent orthopedic center in Bangkok cannot realistically employ a dedicated machine learning operations team to monitor OpenAI's latest indexing updates.
Right.
This technical barrier to entry is driving the rapid consolidation of patient discovery into third-party global marketplaces.
All right, the source material heavily features platforms like PlacidWay. We need to dissect the actual utility of these marketplaces in an AI-driven ecosystem. Because they are not functioning like traditional marketing directories anymore, are they?
No, not at all. They are functioning as massive data normalization pipelines.
Okay, expand on that.
Traditional directories were just, lists of links. Modern marketplaces like PlacidWay operate as relational databases. They ingest the chaotic, unstructured data from thousands of independent global clinics and force it through a standardized architectural bottleneck.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if a clinic wants to be listed on the platform, they must conform to the platform's data taxonomy.
So they basically force the clinic to unbundle their data. The platform requires the clinic to separate the doctor's credentials into specific verifiable fields, to standardize the nomenclature of the procedures, and to lock their pricing into uniform comparative tiers.
Exactly. And the result is a highly pristine, tightly structured global repository of medical data. And from the perspective of an AI system, a platform like PlacidWay is essentially the ultimate cheat sheet.
The cheat sheet?
Yeah.
Okay.
When a large language model is tasked with answering a complex query about global bariatric surgery options, it does not want to expend compute power crawling 10,000 poorly maintained, unstructured clinic websites.
That makes sense. It's too expensive and messy.
Right. So it routes the query directly through the structured marketplaces.
The LLM knows that the marketplaces already perform the heavy lifting of entity extraction and relationship mapping.
Exactly. The AI utilizes these platforms as high-confidence data nodes. Participating in these centralized ecosystems is no longer just some secondary lead generation tactic for an independent clinic.
Yeah.
No, it is the foundational prerequisite for algorithmic discovery. If your clinic's data is not indexed within the structured repositories that the AI relies on for baseline truth, you are operating at a severe, almost insurmountable disadvantage.
Okay, but let's examine the power dynamics of that relationship for a second. If these third-party platforms control the data architecture that feeds the AI, do they not become the unavoidable toll booths of global healthcare?
That's a common fear.
Like, is there a risk that independent clinics become entirely beholden to a few centralized tech aggregators just to gain access to international patients?
Well, the economic tension there is definitely real, but characterizing them merely as toll booths ignores the fundamental utility they provide. They're acting as essential translators between two totally incompatible systems.
Translators, okay.
Think about it. The human surgeon possesses the physical capability to perform a complex, life-saving procedure, but the human surgeon cannot speak the syntactic language required by a neural network.
Right, they can't speak JSON-LD.
Exactly. The marketplace translates the physical medical expertise into the structured digital schema that the AI demands. They are providing the essential digital infrastructure that bridges the gap between human capability and algorithmic discovery.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But even with the marketplace acting as the initial discovery node, the patient journey does not end there.
No, it doesn't.
The AI provides the recommendation, and the marketplace validates the data, but ultimately the patient will navigate to the clinic's proprietary digital properties to finalize the decision.
Right, to close the deal.
The AI handles the logic, but the clinic must still secure the human trust. This requires a complete reevaluation of what a clinic publishes on its own servers.
And this represents the final evolution in the strategic playbook. It's the complete abandonment of promotional content in favor of obsessive deep dive educational resources.
Obsessive education.
Yes. Clinics must transform their digital presence from a billboard into a comprehensive, specialized medical library.
The sources outline a clear mandate for this educational pivot. Clinics must architect content that addresses the highly specific, deeply granular fears of the patient. We are talking about publishing comprehensive guides detailing the exact biological eligibility criteria for a procedure. We are talking about itemized, highly transparent cost breakdowns that explain the economic rationale behind the pricing.
All of it.
We are talking about publishing the statistical probabilities of surgical complications and detailing the exact mitigation protocols the clinic utilizes.
They even need to publish content discussing alternative treatment modalities, including the explicit acknowledgement of scenarios where surgery is not the recommended path.
Wow, telling people not to get surgery.
Yeah, this level of radical transparency builds profound psychological trust with the human reader. But, critically, it also serves a dual purpose for the machine.
This brings us to the convergence of social media, AI discovery, and first-party data. The patient journey is no longer a linear funnel, is it? It is a highly fragmented multimodal loop.
Consider the modern sequence. The initial spark of awareness often occurs on a visual algorithmic platform like TikTok or YouTube. A patient sees a highly detailed educational video from a foreign surgeon explaining the biomechanics of a specific spinal disc replacement. That video establishes the initial human connection and authority.
But the patient doesn't book spine surgery based on a TikTok.
God, no.
They take the name of that surgeon, pivot to their AI assistant, and prompt it to validate the claims. Like, analyze Dr. Smith's spinal replacement outcomes in Germany and compare the total logistical cost against average domestic prices in the U.S.
And the AI runs the comparative analysis, pulls the structured data from the marketplace repositories we just talked about, and validates the surgeon's authority. Only then does the patient arrive at the clinic's proprietary website.
Right.
And this is where the acquisition of first-party data becomes the most critical asset in the clinic's entire business model.
First-party data. Just to define that quickly, meaning the direct owned relationship with the patient, independent of any search engine, AI model, or social algorithm.
Right, because the vulnerability of relying entirely on algorithmic discovery is that the algorithms are constantly shifting.
They change every day.
Yeah. Foundation models update their weighting parameters, search engines alter their core updates, and social platforms change their distribution logic. A clinic that relies purely on third-party discovery is basically building its business on rented land.
To hedge against that volatility, the clinic must convert the anonymous algorithmic traffic into an owned database.
Exactly.
So when the patient arrives at the website to validate the AI's recommendation, the clinic offers a deeply comprehensive, localized guide. Perhaps something like a complete logistical blueprint for spine surgery recovery in Germany. And to access this highly valuable educational asset, the patient provides their email address.
And the moment that transaction occurs, the clinic bypasses the AI gatekeeper.
They own the relationship.
Yes. They have secured a direct line of communication. They can nurture that patient through private, secure channels, utilizing their own CRM systems. The massive investment in educational content satisfies the empathy required by the human patient, feeds the exact Q&A schema required by the AI model, and ultimately secures the first-party data necessary to future-proof the business against algorithmic disruption.
It is a brilliantly cohesive strategy when executed correctly.
Okay.
Let's summarize the sheer scale of the transformation we've mapped out today.
It's massive.
The era of fighting for top-of-page visibility using generic marketing copy and aggressive SEO tactics is definitively over. It is a legacy system.
The mechanics of the internet have fundamentally evolved from retrieval to synthesis.
Yes, we are operating entirely within the age of recommendation visibility. For any global medical center, survival is now entirely predicated on data architecture. It requires the deployment of structured data tables, radically transparent pricing models, the integration of locally verified medical credentials, and a wholesale commitment to granular educational content.
Because the AI acts as the ultimate unblinking gatekeeper, and its primary filtering mechanism is clarity.
And for you, the listener, the implications of this infrastructure shift extend far beyond hospital administrators and digital marketers. Understanding how these models ingest, weigh, and filter medical data fundamentally alters how you should navigate your own healthcare decisions.
It really empowers you to demand structured transparency and verifiable outcomes before you ever consider cross-border care.
Exactly. It equips you to recognize the difference between a clinic with a massive marketing budget and a clinic with actual verifiable clinical excellence.
And, if we extrapolate this technological trajectory to its logical conclusion, we arrive at a truly disruptive final thought.
Oh, ready for it.
We are rapidly approaching a reality where foundational AI models possess the capability to flawlessly match a patient's highly specific biological profile with the exact optimal surgical specialist anywhere on the globe, instantly normalizing all the logistical friction and cost.
Mind-blowing.
Right. And when that matching process becomes entirely seamless and universally accessible, it forces us to really re-examine the core geographic constraints of modern medicine. As global data becomes perfectly structured and universally transparent, will the traditional paradigm of settling for whatever specialist happens to reside within your local zip code or whoever happens to be constrained within your specific insurance network eventually be viewed not as a necessity, but as an inherently illogical and outdated compromise of your own health?
That concept completely dismantles the traditional boundaries of the primary care network.
It really does.
We are transitioning from a world where booking a simple hotel required hours of agonizing research across 15 browser tabs to a highly structured digital ecosystem where an algorithm can seamlessly guide you to the exact best medical intervention for your specific biology, regardless of international borders.
Right.
The friction is disappearing, and the global operating room is becoming hyper-visible.
It's a brave new world.
It really is. Thank you for joining us as we navigated the mechanics of this massive shift. Keep exploring the underlying data, keep asking the systemic questions, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.